Today we're testing the 2012 model year Impreza for the frontal offset test. So that test is conducted at 64 kilometres per hour with 40% impact of the front of the car on the driver's side. This is the first of 3 tests that we carry out. Second test, side impact, and the third test, the pole test. The whole purpose of the NCAP test is to provide our customers with an independent measure of the relative safety of one vehicle to another vehicle. To be able to do that, we need to, of course, have some measurement. So the measurement is we put in some crash test dummies, and those dummies are fully instrumented with sensors that measure the actual amount of injury that a human being would incur if they were in such an accident. And that's translated into a score, which then becomes simplified in a star rating system. So on the face of the dummy, you'll see some paint also on the knees and legs. The purpose of that paint is to give a telltale sign of the point of impact of the dummy with the airbag or any other part of the vehicle, such as the underside of the dash. In the Impreza case, we'll see marks on the face airbag and also some marks from the knees on the new knee airbag that we have in this new model. This is what happens when you have an accident at 64 kilometres per hour. Even though that might sound to be a relatively slow speed, this is what happens when you hit a big concrete block like this here. You can see here that the car is impacted at the front about 40% across the front of the car. That's where all the energy has been concentrated. And it looks like a lot of damage there, but it's designed to do that. This area is designed to really crumple and in the process to absorb all the energy of impact. And what's also happened is, difficult to see here, but the engine and transmission inside here has moved down underneath the floor of the car. And the reason it's done that is so that it doesn't impact into the passenger compartment. The energy that's left in the impact that's not absorbed in the front will flow up through this A-pillar, through the roof here. And if we look just here, we can see the result of that. You can see some little dents in the roof. That's the result of the energy flow. The energy also flows through the side sill as well. And the reason it does that is so that the energy doesn't come into the occupant and injure the occupant. So it's a question of redirecting the energy around the occupant. You can see here that the door is intact, hasn't come open, and somebody hasn't fallen out of the car in the process. So really good result here in terms of this part of the car is still almost in its original shape. The airbag we see here have deployed, so obviously the driver's head airbag. And down here you can see, if you have a look, is what we call the knee airbag. This is a new addition to the Subaru Impreza, and its job is obviously to, as the name implies, to protect the knees and the lower legs of the driver from impact into the underside of the steering column. At the other side we've got the airbag, which is larger because the dash is further away for the passenger. So again, that's to protect the head as the body moves forwards in an accident. Here we have the seat belts, and these are pre-tensioner seat belts. So initially what happens is the seat belt will tighten on the body to minimise the space between the seat belt and the body. At that point the airbag is inflating, and if we look at the high-speed film we can see that the airbag is fully inflated by the time the head meets the airbag. At that point, this seat belt will release ever so slightly, so it's what we call a load limiter. And the reason for that is to minimise the amount of injury to the chest of the driver, similarly with the passenger. In the rear of the car here, we have the 2 little children in their child restraint devices, little seats in the back, and they're secured by those seats. You'll see a lot of movement forward of both the driver and passenger, but also the kids in the back. That's designed to go like that so that we actually minimise the amount of internal injuries to the body. So progressively slowing forward movement and not sudden stopping. Overall, looking at the side of the car, the main part that we're concerned about, the passenger compartment, is intact. Very little distortion in terms of that part of the car from here right the way back to here. The front part we're not worried about. That's where the energy is absorbed. This is the important part, the passenger safety cell. So overall, just looking at it, I'd say pretty good result. This is our second test on our journey to the 5-star result. The other day we did the offset test at 64 kilometres per hour. Today we're doing the side impact at 50 kilometres per hour. Typical situation, somebody runs the red light at an intersection, you've just taken off from a green light, and the car running the red light impacts directly in the side of your car, aimed directly at the driver. We expect to see a very good result today. The engineering of Subaru cars is such that we've strengthened the side of the car to absorb the energy and redirect the energy around the occupants, because there's very little space to allow crumpling of the car to absorb energy. We redirect it. So a lot of work has gone Subaru cars to strengthen the area, particularly in the B pillar. And of course we've got our curtain and side airbags to also protect the occupant. So we expect a very good result today in this side impact test. Today we've just seen the side impact test. This is what happens if somebody runs the red light. You get hit right smack in the side just where you're sitting. So as you can see, a lot of impact damage. But thankfully it's a Subaru and we've got all this nice strength in the side of the car to absorb and redirect the energy of impact. Also you can see here behind the glass the airbag that's deployed to protect the passengers and the drivers' heads. So you can see the point, the blue marks on down here where the red light car, as I call it, or the replication of red light car. It's not really a car, it's a trolley that's 960 kilograms that represents that other car in the accident. And that's hit the side of the car at 50 kilometers per hour. The blue marks are where it impacted. Not difficult to see where it's impacted, you can see the distortion of the doors, but it's good to see that here we have some intrusion bars in the doors of the vehicle that prevent the actual full penetration of the other car into the passenger space. So you can see particularly this one here, connected down to its attachment point in the bottom of the door here, nice and strong to prevent that intrusion. So around here on this side that's not damaged, we can actually see the construction and the location of those intrusion bars and where they link into the main body frame. So down here, we can see the location point here. And on the underside of the door, we can see the pin that locates into that location point. So that basically links up the diagonal bar and gives it additional strength, linking the door to the body of the car. So from this side, we can see the airbags deployed from the inside. You can see that they're like pillows, protecting the head of the occupant from impacting the window of the car, both on the front and also in the rear of the car. So it covers the full length of the interior of the vehicle on that right-hand side. So overall, a great story for the Impreza, the second leg of our journey to 5 stars. Today, we're on the third and final step of our journey towards the ANCAP 5-star rating. The hurdle that we have to overcome today is the side pole impact into this pole here. This is something you don't want to hit when you're driving a car on the road. This represents a power pole, a light pole, or even a tree that you impact when you lose control of the vehicle, slide off the road and hit directly in line with the driver onto this pole. Hopefully in a Subaru you don't lose control because you've got active safety, but if you're going too fast and you do lose control, what we need to do is protect occupants when this sort of situation happens. It is the most severe accident of the 3 tests that we carry out. The reason for that, even though the speed is only 29 kilometres per hour, is because we hit this pole which is fairly narrow in terms of the width of the car. So all of the energy is concentrated in that very narrow area that's lined directly with the driver's head. Hopefully with the Subaru strengthened side impact protection through our rigid passenger safety cell and with our curtain airbags, the amount of injury is minimal. So I'm sure today we'll get a very good result because of those new technologies in Subaru vehicles. reached the end of the journey. We've just completed the last third stage of the crash test, and this is the result. This is what happens when you lose control of a car and hit a pole at only 30 kilometres per hour. Amazing the amount of damage. Most people would be surprised that 30 k's you can get so much damage. The reason is that all of the energy is concentrated in a very small area, the width of the pole. So this is the result. It looks a really good result. The airbags here have deployed to protect the head of the occupants, and the amount of head injury criteria has been measured and is looking really good. So the two things that we have to achieve to get maximum points for this test. Number one, the airbag must deploy, which as you can see has fully deployed the curtain airbag. So that gives us the first point. The second point we get from the level of head injury that the dummy incurs during the test. So if we go around the other side of the car, we can see the point of impact. So to get the second point, we have to minimise the amount of injury to the driver's head. And if we look inside the vehicle, we can see the red mark on the airbag that shows the point of impact. The way we measure the injury is through a special sensor in the head that measures the G-force of the impact. So that has to go a certain level to get the second point. We've now got our 2 points in this test, which gives us a 5-star result for Impreza and for XV, maintaining our reputation for 5-star safety across the entire Subaru range. Great result for Subaru.